Greetings. It is Monday, July 6th. We have a massive game tonight. USA, USA. So I'm rocking, representing. By the time this comes out, we'll determine if we're still in the tournament. Fingers crossed. Hell of a weekend. Hope you guys are watching a lot of World Cup. Anyway, we have a very special guest today. I've been trying to get him on for years. It is Jay at RiceCakeBandit. You talk about the veteran. You talk about a guy who's been on Whatnot forever and runs one of the most entertaining shows. He is the king of progressive lots. Not sure if you've ever seen, but I'm gonna try to take some pictures of his next show so I can show you these stacks of cards that he sells to one person for a ludicrous amount of money. And I'm gonna ask him, how does he ship? I think if you've ever seen a RiceCakeBandit show, you're always thinking like, how does this guy ship? It's crazy. Anyway, thank you guys for the continued support. We're in season 2. Last week was sports cards, y'all. They absolutely killed it. We're going to keep it going with some fantastic streamers. And my number one ask is I do have a Patreon, so make sure you click the link below. I'm asking you to be a member. I need support. I want to grow this thing. I'm going to throw you a bunch of cool free stuff. I'm going to give you sneak previews into upcoming 5 with Joel-ATX. He actually just jumped on the line. Jay just jumped on the line. So here we go. Thank you guys for your continued support. Here we go. I literally,
sorry it took so long for us to get together.
dude, doesn't matter. We're here now. That's all that matters, man.
Awesome.
I literally just finished your intro and you just jumped on the room. So that was perfect. We're already recording, by the way.
Oh, well, awesome. Even better. Hello. Uh,
Hello. I'm not going to use this footage, but we're recording. I find
right.
like it's better if you've ever done a podcast. If I go, okay, we're going to record, and then all of a sudden everyone's nervous. So it's like just
Yeah.
record from the get-go. Everyone wants to know how the hell you ship, but that'll be the final question. So you guys, if you're watching at home, you have to sit through Joel and Jay talking cards, and then he's going to answer how he ships these massive lots. So, uh, that was a great intro, but I'm gonna give some numbers.
Yeah.
So you guys, I'm talking to Jay from RiceCakeBandit. You go by Jay, correct?
Yes. Yes, Jay.
Okay. You guys have heard already. He's been streaming 4+ years. I mean, he's one of the great ones. He does these monstrous progressive lots, but let's go through some numbers. He obviously has 5-star reviews. You almost have 7,000 reviews, by the way. That's crazy. 1 day shipping time, 18,000 sold, and 69,000. I'm rounding up a little, 69,000 followers. I mean, this guy's an absolute beast. And now I find out he's a bodybuilder. So he's literally a beast. So, Jay, thank you so much for joining me. This is 5 with Joel-ATX, season 2, episode 2. We're gonna talk about shipping last, but you kind of already alluded. So you started watching comp, you started buying from him, and then you and your wife said, "Screw it, let's go ahead and try it." So walk me through how that went.
So similar to this, we're on a Zoom. I've been on Zoom selling for years, 15 years for big conglomerates. Been in sales a long time, and I think a couple of years ago when I was in the middle of switching companies, I got to the point where inherently I love the hobby, and I've always like an on and off collector for most of my life. But
Mhm.
you get to a point in your sales career when you've made a lot of other people money and you wanted to just do something inherently for yourself,
Yeah,
right? So selfishly, I really wanted to use the skill set that I had, which is I lead demos all day long for schools and I sell to school districts on similar fashions to this, just in a different life. I said,
sure.
well, what if we flip the camera? I get to sell cards and something that I love, and we can do it together and have some fun and see if we can kind of build a business and it be something that's mine, right?
Right.
Inherently mine. So we started out just comp got him here. He's like, sales guys do well on here. You got to try it out. And then me and my wife just started running every Saturday. It started out just doing like some morning shows.
Yep.
Inherently just started doing some breakfast club shows, some morning shows because the morning crew seemed to be good.
Yep.
And then just kind of continued from there. And eventually, we started having fun doing it, and the Saturday morning shows turned into a couple days of the week. And people who do bodybuilding like me or have similar mindsets, I have an obsessive personality where I kind of
Yeah.
got a little bit obsessed with kind of the app like we all do, and
Oh yeah.
where community really carried us through early days of
Sure.
what, right? I think the first couple years of Whatnot, it still is like that. And I think the CSN communities, I think, is an evolution of that. I think from
Yeah.
some of the early days, but It was a smaller community on Whatnot early, right? And
Sure.
community was big, and we something about the morning crew. I think just me and some of the other guys I ran with early, like Cheddar Love and Hicks, and some of these other guys I ran with early, just floated towards the morning, and
Yeah.
we were consistent. And I think that's why we're here now. It's just I think consistency, I think, leads the way on the app, in my
That's
opinion.
great. Yeah, I used to do mornings, but with my two young kids, I have to do nights now. It's the way it
Yeah,
works. By the way, I randomly ran into Cheddar Love on an eBay stream like a month ago. It was so random because he's been
that's
off
so
Whatnot
fun.
for a while.
Yeah,
So him and I grew up in the same small, crappy little city in Wisconsin, of all places. Very
that's
strange.
a small world. Yeah.
All right, so first stream is done. You've been streaming for 4+ years. What got you into, because I'm sure you didn't do progressives at the beginning. Like, I'm gonna show some pictures, you guys. If you've never seen his
Yeah.
show, you're not gonna believe the mountains of cards that he sells on one bid. It's one of the most entertaining things that you've ever seen on Whatnot. So how did you get into progressives from going from singles?
So most people originally will say, "Oh, Rice created progressive." There were some early on in the Whatnot days. There were middle of the night guys that would do some similar things, right? And as a sales guy, with the way my life works, with a couple of the jobs that I do, lots were also spurred of. I don't inherently, with my schedule, had the time to do 5, 6 hour single shows.
Sure.
Right. I'm blessed to be around Jersey, which is one of the strongest circuits in the country for sports card shows, and
Yeah.
had the ability to get a lot of cards, could get them quickly. I just needed to develop a format which was inherently, over time we mixed it in, and singles to me were always a little slow, right? And I
Yeah.
always thought I wanted to be different, right? And a couple of us, like Big Apple and Comp, but a lot of us started running progressive lots early.
Okay.
I've just evolved. They've went more singles. I hung on with lots and evolved the show a little bit, but it was a couple sides. I have access to a lot of guys locally that feed me product. I have great relationships locally. It was time over task. A lot of the times I'm a believer I can get to my end goal with my streaming goal in 2.5 hours than other guys do it doing 4 to 6 hour single streams, right? So like it's inherently similar product, different pathway to get to the same end goal, if that
You're a
makes
lot
sense.
like me. You're a master of efficiency. You're saying, what can I do? How can I condense a 6 hour show into a 2 hour show, yet still get the same effect and still get the same revenue, if you will, right? And so, I
Correct.
mean, yeah,
Correct.
you've
While,
mastered
while
it. It's
being
been,
while be and over time, when the one touch stuff and the app evolved with where it's at now with sudden death and singles and the way it kind of went, the more it evolved, there was always times, and a lot of my guys in the room will always tell you, I tried to do single shows for a while, right? And I was always try, but I've always, and doesn't mean I'll never do them again. It's just I was forcing something that I wasn't
right.
inherently in my heart. And my heart was people want value, right? I inherently built a
Yep.
room that was the technically the opposite of the way the rest of the app does things. I do long time, I do big lots,
Yep.
I do a lot of cards. I so it's inherently the vibe of my room is the complete opposite. I do speed giveaways now, right? Where I
I was
just
going to
rip
bring
it.
that up. I love that. I steal that every now and then. So,
Yeah.
if you guys don't know, like, first of all, shame on you if you've never been on a Rice Cake Bandit show, but
Yeah.
make sure I'll put the information down here so you'll know. But he does these awesome random sudden death gibbies where he'll run a gibby, multiple gibbies. He'll run a gibby, but he won't tell you when he's going to pull it. Sometimes it's 3 seconds, sometimes it's 10 seconds. And these are all good gibbies, by the way. And it's just, as someone who's just kind of watching, it's really fun to participate. So hopefully you guys are getting the vibe. Like Jay saw an opportunity that I'm going to do things a little differently. And in every aspect he does, from his progressives to his speed gibbies. It's just an amazing show. And you see some of the bids go up to like 500, thousands of dollars. And like the great thing is, I'm comping cards while you're doing it. Like everyone wins. The person who bought the lot wins. They got a great deal. And I know you're buying smart. You're winning too on your side
Yeah.
too. So it's just a really cool
Yeah,
formula.
listen, we all want to win on the app, right? But the goal is with the way I buy, and people who know me locally in Jersey, I'm a buy everything type of guy. right? Some people
Yeah.
cherry pick, we buy it all, right?
Yeah.
And truly we buy it all because there's different avenues that things will sell on better than others, right? But inherently, when you see my lots, the goal of my lots is yes, I have a lot of resellers that are in my room, but things I've learned over time is I have a lot of dad and sons that are in my room in the morning buying cards,
Mm.
right?
Sure.
And that's a big part of my crew that there's shops that resell in my room, but inherently there's a lot of dads that have texted me like, Jay, do you know how much money ripping cards I've spent? And I just want to have this experience with my son where like I individually bubble mailer everything and wrap everything. And like the goal is as best as we can do it is to have an opening experience for the user on the inside, right?
Yeah.
Because I've had a lot of dad and sons that buy in my room that people are like, oh, they spend so much money. Like, yeah, but they're getting, they have 20 bubbles to open up when they get home of all different cards that sometimes they forget what they had, sometimes they don't, but it's similar to, it's like another it's an opening experience, right?
That's a
The
great point,
for
Jay. I never
the dads when they get home. Yeah.
they could spend $1,000 on a couple hobby
Yeah.
boxes and get absolutely nothing, or they could
Yeah.
spend that thousand with your show. Know you're getting like case hits and amazing cards and the joy of opening cards. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. Um, you've been streaming for 4+ years. What would you say is your number one favorite thing about streaming and whatnot?
My one number one favorite thing about streaming on whatnot, community. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, as much as I love it, it'll always be inherently about like the community on whatnot.
Mhm.
Inherently. So um sorry, hold
You
on
see,
one second. I
no, no
apologize.
worries, yeah, no worries, no worries. Oh, nice.
In all realness for the camera, these are my meta glasses, and my wife called me, and I couldn't figure out
I
how to
saw
shut it
you
off.
doing
I
this.
was I was trying to turn it off. I was like, I picked up the phone call. I was like, what is going on? My favorite thing about Whatnot is community, right?
Yeah,
Like I truly like have a lot of longtime friends I've met on Whatnot and people that like I do consider like friends, not just buyers and customers.
sure.
And something I get more I like it gets to your heart more than others, the messages you sometimes get from other people because I do run a very different stream, right? And I've had more impact on other streamers behind me than I realized
Sure.
sometimes. And the progressive lot rooms that have spurred off my room, right?
Hmm.
And you go into some of these other rooms that are doing lots, and like I don't know who they are, but they know who I am when I get there.
Makes you feel
Right.
good. You know what I mean? Like, all right,
Right.
I had an impact. So I'm gonna go off course because I think this is important. You've been streaming for 4+ years, which again is in dog years, is like 100 years.
Yeah.
What does it take to be able to sustain and stay consistent and actually, because unfortunately we see people kind of burn out,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden hey, what happened
Yeah.
to this person? So you've been doing it for 4+ years. What do you think it takes to actually sustain a career on whatnot, if you will?
So two or three things, but the number one thing before like buying and taking care of customers and the other stuff I'll mention behind it, right? Mike, who Skip Hicks, who told me this a while ago, along with a couple of people, Mike was the first one. The most important thing on Whatnot is consistency and a time slot, right? And I'll
Ooh,
say
yeah.
that till the end of whether people listen to me or not. It's just like your podcast, right? People they want it, they look forward to
Every
it on X
Thursday.
date and X time when it's get released, when it's coming out. It's picking a time slot and growing within it and
Yep.
then building a community around it. It's like having a weekly TV show. It's consistency and a time slot that people don't realize is more important than anything. Whether
Hmm.
hell or high water, whether I'm tired or not, I'll always try and get on Thursday or Friday morning, whether my work schedule is crazy or not. Right. So it's
Hmm.
always trying to just be consistent in a time slot. We're in a world of whatnot where it's churn and burn and don't care about what's going on with other customers,
Hmm.
unfortunately, in my opinion. So like inherently as someone that sold software like companies and subscription products to schools for a long time, I'm
Yep.
only as good as the customers that come back. Right. So I think it's inherently trying to run a good stream, but make sure you're taking care of customers and it's it's finding a niche for buying, right? I think most people burn out because they buy too strong, you need to inherently find a buying system that works for you. right?
Yeah,
And
it's no, sorry to interrupt. Someone once said the profit is in the purchase. And it's, that rings true. And I looked at my first year when I was streaming and I look back, I'm like, what a dumbass. I spent so much money. I didn't put thought into the fact that if you buy a card, you need to be able to sell it at 20% more than you paid for it to even almost break even on whatnot. And so
correct.
then the light finally clicks. You're like, oh, this is how you buy. And I think the consistency, you're spot on, Jay. You,
I
you
think
couldn't be
it's the
more true.
one thing that advice I would give to people if they're building a card business, whatnot cannot be whatnot's one piece of a card business.
Hmm.
And I'm blessed that we moved into like a headquarters now and I have like an office, but like it's an evolution that people eventually realize that there is multiple levels of the hobby and whatnot is one way to move cards, right? There's a
Hmm.
lot of I love whatnot. I'm a whatnot streamer forever, and that's like the main source, right, of where we're doing it. But that
Sure.
doesn't mean you shouldn't have a number of funnels that stuff has to go to,
Right.
right? So like whatnot's one source. Obviously, we have eBay for eBay auctions, which I have eBay auctions that we're trying to run weekly now. You have in-person sellers and repackers, right? You have a
Yeah.
lot of these other one touch whatnot night guys who are local in Jersey that pay crazy, crazy strong on certain
Yep.
stuff, right? So you have grading, obviously, which is in a weird place now, but you have grading that's potentially out there. Card shows,
Hmm.
which you can sell stuff, die boxes, so like discords. So I just think it's for people, it's whatnot is a great source. But I have always said healthy whatnot businesses, and most shops will tell you this, come out of a healthy card business generally.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a card model generally and you have all of your avenues and you are organized and you know where things are going, whatnot becomes a successful whatnot stream becomes a byproduct of a successful card business.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that. I'm not even going to add anything to that because you absolutely nailed it. Mic drop right there, Jay. Thank you, buddy. I love that. Um, you've been giving kind of advice all the time, but what would you say would be your number one piece of advice, Jay, for a new streamer?
I'll hold on the consistency and the time slot, but if it's as a streamer personally, it's be yourself, right? Be yourself, find a niche. Don't always think you have to just slap one touches and do 10 second sudden death, right? There's a lot of ways if you were just talking whatnot, right? I think there's a lot of ways to be successful on app, right? And I think it's marketing's all about testing and retesting and failing a couple times, and eventually you're
Yep.
going to get up and you're going to start running, right? But don't always follow the path that's most traveled because it's not necessarily the right path for you, right? There's a lot of
Yep.
different ways to be successful on the app. I'm a big believer you can go down the road most commonly traveled, or you could dance in the gaps and also make a lot of money.
Hmm. I love
So,
it. Let's do I don't know if you've seen the show, but I have a wheel. So we're gonna do the wheel round and break things up a little. I'm sure you're very excited about this. Let's do this one. All right, can you see the wheel, Jay?
uh,
Are you on your
let's
phone or
there. Now I can.
computer?
There you go. Got
Okay,
it. No,
cool.
yeah, we're good.
All right, so there's gonna be 8 or 9 topics. I'm gonna hit spin and I'll explain to you which one you have to answer. Here we go. It's even got a nice little sound to it. Oh, okay. 2026 sleepers. I think that's pretty pretty self-explanatory. Who are you collecting in this off season that you feel, we're talking football primarily, who do you
Okay.
feel is going to really come out of nowhere and just be the next, not Drake May. That's a ridiculous comparison, but who are you thinking? It could be multiple players.
2026.
Packers.
Anybody, give me a sleeper.
First person Marshawn Lloyd. First full season in the NFL, most likely.
Okay.
Running back two for once.
Um,
Matthew Golden.
my employee behind me says Matthew Golden and Marshawn Lloyd in his Packer brain. I like maybe the kid from Tootin, the kid from if we're just talking fantasy, the kid from
Tune's good.
Jacksonville, Bashal Tootin,
Yep.
potential. As a Jets fan, if you were going to tell me, I'd say Braylon Allen's going to break out this year.
I hope so. He's a Badger. Yeah.
Yeah, Wisconsin. Yeah, I was going to say Wisconsin Badger right there, right?
Yeah.
Wisconsin running back. But we'll see. Every year comes with its own surprises. I
I
think.
love tune. I've been selling a ton of tune. He's actually cheap. Your
Yeah,
employees, my favorite. I'm a Packer fan too. I think Golden. I mean, there's 9 targets available right now because of Dobbs and Wicks leaving.
yeah,
And then yeah, I mean, right now Jacobs. Who the hell knows what's gonna happen? I'm all in on Marshawn Lloyd if he can stay healthy. I will
yeah.
give one, and it's not a really cool, sexy pick, but I think Carson Beck. The I think the Cardinals are going to struggle, and they're going to demand Carson Beck and Jeremiah Love. And I feel like I know the hobby; they love a good white quarterback. I can feel it. You know what I mean? The hype is going to be real for Carson Beck. I just got a feeling
Listen, the Cardinals they're scrapping down there. They need something.
they
So
need something. They
they
need
need
they got nothing,
yeah. They need something. But football's almost amongst us. We're close. We're close.
dude. I
It's,
know. I'm
it's
so I'm
approaching
so
very quickly.
I am so excited. Um, I threw this question and I think it's kind of interesting, but like especially from your experience and whatnot,
Yeah.
who are some of this you already talked about comp, like who are some of the streamers that you were kind of like not emulated, but kind of inspired you to start streaming? Are there any streamers nowadays that you kind of catch? Anyone that stands out?
Um. Well, I would say. I mean, I mentioned comp. I think. There's a lot of great streamers I think on the app now. Inherently, I kind of ride my own. No one really does technically what I do, right?
Nope.
I don't think, but someone who is under the radar that he runs a couple really big shows, runs a shop out in Dallas, which he changed my perspective on natural rooms, I'll call it, versus fluffed up rooms. Is called Worth Collecting. So
Hmm.
Worth Collecting is a shop out in Dallas. He runs singles, and I just think there was something about chill demeanor, which I know the CSN group strives off of, but
Sure.
there was just something about the love. If you go see his shows on Wednesdays and Saturdays, there was just something always about how, and it's something that Hicks always talked about like early on, where it's having a givey room versus a natural room, right?
Huge difference.
And he has a room where like now on Saturdays he'll run like huge cards, 5, 10,000, like he'll run massive cards, but
Yeah.
there for a while he was running 4-digit cards with 30 to 50 people in it, not caring, right? And
Yep.
his bids fly and they
Yeah.
absolutely fly. And now his room's a little bit bigger and his Saturday shows have grown, and I think he's at like a bigger place now, but he's I've always admired him just because he's, in my opinion, under the radar. I appreciate guys who grow these crazy, strong, natural rooms, right?
And did you say it's work? What's the name?
Worth, WIRTH, worth collecting.
Words. Got it. Okay.
Worth collecting. Yeah. Really, really great app, which is honestly, we talked about the speed giveaways. That's honestly where the speed giveaways came out of, is because I was a big believer shifting my room from being a heavy giveaway room in the morning to having a smaller room now, but speed giveaways allow the people who are your real watchers to be rewarded.
Sure. Makes
And it
sense.
opens up shipping for your real watchers that are there. And in my opinion, enables more open bids because you're giving free shipping to your actual watchers who are hanging and not
What's
giveaway guys.
what's the cadence behind your speed? Do you do it like towards the mid show, end show? Because you don't do them at the beginning, do you?
The
Not that it,
giveaways in the begin. So I do like 3 or 4 giveaways to start off the room typically.
of
So I
course.
always think that's a good best practices. Kick off the room with a couple giveaways, get the room going a little bit, right? Do 3 or 4 giveaways to kind of start out. We get moving, and then in between lots, when I can remember, honestly, I try and just pop up like 3 or 4 like speed giveaways. Like I'll randomly just rip 3 or 4 giveaways at a time, like
Okay.
in between lots. So that way I'll do like a 10-second giveaway, a 5-second giveaway, a 3-second giveaway, an instant giveaway, meaning I'll just
Yeah.
immediately pull it like right away. But
Yeah.
what I realized based off of data, and I can go into the data and the numbers when I started because I'm an analytics guy, my room revenue wise has grown tremendously since I've started the speed giveaways.
Interesting.
Right. Which is an interesting data point, but I'm a big believer it's enabled my room to be like Worth's, which is a more natural room.
Yes.
right?
Because it's
So
not every 5 minutes and people just hanging
it's
on for the
not, I
next
don't do,
gibby.
I'm not doing thousands of dollars of giveaway and having a lot of fluff in my room, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where, yeah, I sometimes have big lofty lots and I'm running big cards for my top of the lot, but I'm able to do that now because my room is more natural and I know the buyers that are in the room now, right? Sometimes we're shooting for the stars and we see these 600 people rooms and we think it's the best, but you go look at their actual completed sales. I'm not looking to sit there for 8 hours doing 2 to 12, 2 to 6. Like that's not my vibe for a seller. I
Right.
don't have time to do that. So like for me, I would rather have a natural room where I can get in and get out quicker, right?
Yep.
And run the model that I kind of run. But there is a method to the madness behind it, and it's with the goal of like admiring Worth and some of these other guys where you want a natural room. And it's okay. When I first started, if you had 60 to 80 in your room, you were rocking on whatnot 4 years ago, right?
Hell, over
But we've
50 was huge.
like we've gotten to the point now where you always want to be blessed for what you have, not what you don't.
Right.
Right. And I think we've gotten so ahead of ourselves. I remember when I first had 30 people in my room, how jacked up I was.
Yeah.
Right. When me and my wife first had 35, we were like, babe, 35 people in the room. And like we were
We made
rocking,
it. We
right?
made it.
We were
Yeah.
rocking. And like now, like when you don't get 100, like people get upset. And it's like, no, imagine being in a card show and having 50 people standing around your table buying.
That's a good point. You never think about that. Yeah, they're all not going to buy, but they're all, yeah. Um, there's another streamer who's actually in town. His name is Ready or Not 88, I think his name
Okay.
is. I met him at a card show, but he runs Heat and he has typically like 28 to 30 people. And guess what? They're all buyers. And he
Yeah.
does really well. And so that's a perfect example. His givvies, I don't think he runs a lot of givvies either. So I think that's a smaller example of Worth, but I see exactly what you're talking about. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Let's talk about, with the progressive lots, what kind of challenges do you have and how do you overcome them? Or one challenge, I should say.
I mean, shipping is crazy. Inventory tracking for me right now is a little bit crazy, to be honest, and trying to
Yeah.
keep up just because I am blessed to be known as the box guy, quote unquote, in Jersey, where everyone will just, if you need to move low to mid end and volume, like I am the guy that everyone goes to. But keeping up with inventory tracking and lot buying and things like is always a grind and
Yep.
shipping is always a grind. But to be honest with you, I've now that I moved into an office and I'm blessed to have an amazing employee who's over to the right of me working on stuff right now. And I'm still hiring a few more people. I have more help now with
Yeah.
shipping like I used to, but like it was a grind for a while, even though I have systems, but keeping up with the amount of prep and packing that we have to do just for the lot shows is a little bit of a grind in itself.
Yeah, I'd
Which is
imagine.
why like I have more help now. But for the 3 years I didn't have help, it was just when every moment of the day when you're not working, you're home watching TV, you're one touching cards, or you're top loaded, or you're packing, or the prep was the bane of my existence for a couple years until I got some more help. So
Well, congrats on the new office. Congrats. I mean, you're building something really special. And the last question I'll say, but for you guys that have been waiting, I'm going to ask Jay the question you've been asking. It's quite timely, as you all
yeah,
know, the flat rates are going bye-bye on whatnot. So I don't know if that affects you, Jay, but
a
so
little bit.
and
Yeah.
let me preface this. So if you're on Jay's show, he starts with a banger and then he just keeps dropping cards. A lot of them are in top loaders. So by the end of the bid, how many cards would you say on average are you packing up for one bid?
I mean, for one bid, I don't know, probably gotta be Eric. What do you think? 50 to 200 cards?
Yeah, I'd say
50 to
so.
200?
Yeah.
But probably
All right,
50 to
so
200.
if you guys can picture packing up 50
Yeah.
to 200, the majority of them there, I mean, there's some slabs, but most of them are on one touches. So, Jay, how the hell do you
Yeah.
ship all these
And just
cards?
imagine, I want to put in frame of reference, 18,000 sold. Those were all lots primarily.
Yeah, that's insane, dude.
Right.
That's
So
insane.
just do some of the numbers. If you average it at 100 cards per lot times 18,000,
Massive.
probably sold over a million cards on whatnot.
Yeah.
So here's my perspective on it. Everyone's like, "Oh, your lots sometimes they look really strong." People are like, I'm a big believer. And it might shift I'm gonna have to probably shift or readjust the numbers when I take a look at it, but I always keep my shipping the same normal shipping it's always been, right? I don't
Okay.
overcharge shipping. And here's the perspective is there's a lot of other rooms that do thousands of dollars in giveaways, right? And a lot of those are like my perspective is I would rather my buyers openly swipe than if you're in your room as a buyer and you see
Right.
$10 in shipping, I don't care what you say, you hesitate buying, right?
100%.
Naturally, people hesitate when they see bigger shipping. So me, originally, the original mindset was originally when I first started my shows, I'd only have 3 to 5 buyers originally when my shows were smaller. They're now have gotten a little bit more out of hand, right? So like the original goals was like I've always held to the marker that I've always just eaten the adjustments, right? Because if you
Okay.
actually really look at it, when I was only running one show a week, if I'm averaging 10 buyers a week, I get 5 free adjustments. Half of the adjustments I need to make are already taken care of with the whatnot allotment and an
Good
adjustment,
point. Yeah.
right? Right. And depending on when you're shipping, that resets on Monday,
How
right?
long are your bids 3 minutes typically? Your
Two and a half,
rounds?
two
Two
and
and
a
a half.
half,
Yeah, got it.
two and a
Yeah.
half. Sometimes I'll do shorter, but I do the extended bidding just because I want to give people time
Yeah.
to just because I have a lot of guys that are in and out in the morning and running around and so I give a little bit of extra time on top of I want the lot to be a little bit.
Well,
My
it's kind of it.
original
Yeah.
guy I used to know used to do 5 minutes. Like that's too long. Like
Oof. Yeah.
2.5 minutes. Even there's another room that I'm buddies with now that does progressive. They do like a minute. So like sometimes I'll do minute lots, but 2.5 minutes is usually the goal. But so for me, it's everything. I don't buy individual boxes. If I upgrade people, it's upgrading them to priority, right? Which priority is like a $5 adjustment if they've purchased, right? Most of
Okay.
the time, right? So if I do have 10 lot buyers and 5 of them are free and I need to make adjustments on 5 of them, as long as they're priority adjustments, it's really only like $5 a head or
Is
seven
that
or
it?
well, if they purchase something, it's usually like a $5 adjustment. Sometimes if you have to upgrade a full label and like split the shipment into two, then you'll pay like the 13.95 or whatever if you wanted to do like the split. But priority boxes are free from USPS.com, right?
Beautiful.
You can go to
Yep.
USPS.com. You can order as much inside bubbles. You can order as much large, priority, small. Everything is completely free for box perspectives from their website,
Yeah.
right? Another thing people may or may not know, those inside the large bubble mailers you get from them, you can order those in bulk and I've been slacking on it. You can also use those for the inside bubbles for your lots, right? So it cuts your
Are you
shipping
talking
cost
about
in
these?
half. Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
it's
So
all blurred out, but yeah.
you're good. Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
order those in bulk and then you can cut those in half and use those for the inner bubbles for your lots. And it also cuts on you having to double bubble everything and some of your
It's one
shipping
of the
costs.
best hacks to cut them in half and use them as extra padding. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Big
So
time.
if you really do the numbers, everyone's like, how do you do your shipping? Yeah, we eat a little bit of adjustments every week. And a lot of the times there's going to be one or two big buyers that you're going to have to pay up a little bit on shipping for, right? But at that point, if they're paying up on it with how much they're spending, you eat the adjustment.
Yeah, I like that. So it's almost
Right.
like you're that give you uh allowance, you're pivoting over to your shipping.
Correct.
Um,
Yep.
does the flat rate affect you at all? Or are you always priority?
I priority a lot, right? I mean, I think the flat rates I think are dropping for ground. I think they said
Yeah.
that the ground rates are dropping. So it'll affect the ones that it'll help me with the really large shipments that I'm not making priority, that I'm making like a heavy ground technically, right?
Okay.
So if I make it a heavy ground, if there's a way I can adjust it, and if the lot's 30 pounds, and that happens, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes I've had 50-pound boxes I've had to ship.
Jeez. Yeah.
Right? Like it makes it cheaper for the adjustment on that side. Because one thing that they're also going to be happening soon is they also comp all of the adjustments on whatnot side. So if a carrier hits you with an adjustment, you're
Yep.
not feeling that as a seller right now, right? So if
Yeah.
you actually go to the dashboard, that's also in the next 6 months probably going to start hitting sellers on our pockets, is
I
the
noticed.
adjustments are going to pass through probably at the same time. So it's something that I watch, but for me, it's always been part of the premium service of my room
Right.
is quick shipping. Everything's individually bubbled. Everything's prioritied, shipped as fast as can. It's always, I've kept things, and we'll have to make adjustments as we keep growing. I've kept things the way it is because I've always looked at it as a part of the VIP service of buying lots in my room, if that
Yep.
makes sense.
It's
So,
an experience and it makes sense. It all adds up. I mean,
Yeah.
look at your numbers. It all adds up. So
Yeah.
it is the middle of 2026. You've already had a pretty big year. You've opened up an office. You have an
Yeah.
employee. You're going to be adding
Yeah.
more. What's next? Like the next 6 months? What are you thinking? Next year?
Um, I'll let the so we have a couple startups I'm working on behind the scenes here that are like hobby related that we'll have some websites launching soon for. So we have an office. I have another partner. So I do have some startups which I'll bleed to
Cool.
you first as soon as I'm kind of allowed to
Yeah.
kind of get it rolling. But I have a couple of startups that I'm kind of working on. And to be honest, it's just continuing to involve my shop here. Because my websites will involve like my shop, but it's getting the shop in order. And I'll be honest with you, I need to probably stream more. So as Eric goes back to school, when he goes back to college, I'll have to
Yeah.
backfill and think I need to hire two more people.
Okay.
And then the goal is I need to be running more. So like I really want to add a third day per week.
Okay.
So for me, it's continuing to scale the shop, get a couple startups up and running, which I have some hobby startups that'll be kind of getting announced soon,
Exciting.
and then um, just continuing to scale, right? I'm at my own pace, right? So I just think it's slow and steady wins the race in the hobby. I think if you go too quick, you burn out. If you go too fast, sometimes you get in over your head. So I think
Yeah.
it's slow and steady, add a day here, add employees, continue to scale, continue to
Yeah.
buy, and continue to diversify, I think, my business, right? Where when you buy in a lot like I do, if I'm not continuing to diversify where stuff's going, it'll build up on me, if that makes sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed the 40 minutes, Jay. That it's so good to connect with you finally. I love what you do. You're one of my favorites. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys had pen and paper and took a bunch of notes because he dropped a lot of nuggets of wisdom on this one. So, and when you're ready to announce your endeavors, we'll get back on the podcast and you can
Yeah, I
announce
know.
them.
So I'm trying to get wrap my head around everything plus launching the websites that we have coming out. So trust
Yeah,
me, it'll be announced very shortly, pretty soon. But it was part of the reason we got the office is my business partner who's on the other side. We have a couple startups we're working on together here.
cool.
So
Well, the best of luck to you on that. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah,
Well, Jay, what a pleasure, man. I appreciate it again.
yeah, absolutely. Well,
Go
it's been
USA.
awesome chatting, and yes, go USA. We're winning tonight. That's it. I'm
We
World Cup
gotta
is
win. We gotta win.
that's
That red card thing, that was a shocker.
Dude, I can't believe I'm just hoping they don't backtrack it in the next like 24, in the next like
Oh,
couple
could
hours.
you
'Cause
imagine?
they did because both of them resubmitted for this morning. There was something they resubmitted to FIFA because Belgium was resubmitting like
Oh,
an appeal. So like, but they can't backtrack now because they
I
did
don't
this
think so.
a week
Last
ago.
thing. So tell the people when you stream again.
This Friday, I'm away at a conference most of this week, but this Friday morning, I'll be here
Okay.
this Friday morning. What is the date? I'll tell you the date.
I
Uh,
forgot to announce that Rice Cake Bandit is a premier shop, by the way, which is a very hard thing to attain. And
uh,
so I can't leave that out.
the 10th. I'll be streaming on the 10th on Friday.
Okay, guys.
So,
This will probably not actually it will be out.
yeah.
Six, yeah.
Yeah.
This will be out. So
The
if you guys
10th,
see the
and then next week I'll be away some of the next week, but Monday and Tuesday next week I'll be running just a little bit early because I'll be at the beach there after that. So,
sounds
uh,
good. Well, thanks again, Jay. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. Have a wonderful week and I appreciate the time, man.